Well, hello there, my friend. My name is Jonathan Doyle. Welcome to the Daily Message. I'm very pleased you are here. Today's episode would not be the same without you. Please make sure you're subscribed. Hit those subscribe buttons wherever you're seeing them. It makes a really big difference to the channel, so I would appreciate you doing that. And then, my friend, I would like you to go down here and check out the coaching link. If you like the content you are going to hear today, then go and hit that coaching link. You and I jump on a call anywhere in the world, and I help you identify the gaps, the difference between where you are, where you want to be. We develop a strategy together, and I really help you get moving forward. So go and hit that coaching link, and then we can get moving forward together. I have got a great episode for you today. You ready? Let's begin. Today I want to talk to you about a very powerful insight from a book I finished last week by a writer called Jay Stringer. This author is writing powerfully about the issue of unwanted behaviors, all the way from slightly annoying habits that we might have, all the way through to full-blown compulsive addictions. Now, I know that if you're watching this, you have absolutely no problems or challenges in your life. You have no unwanted behaviors, but for the rest of us, there's going to be stuff here that we can work on. It's just an interesting area of life that as humans, we can often easily identify the things that we would like to be doing, the things we would like to have in our lives, but we frequently find ourselves doing things, saying things, thinking things, believing things that hold us in places we don't want to be. So what do we do about that? Well, like so much of my content, the first step's really about getting conscious, and that's why today's quote from Jay Stringer is going to be really useful. So you ready? Let me share this quote with you. Let's do it. Failure comes from loyalty to past scripts. All right, there is so much in this. Let's start with the concept of failure. I am on a hunt for what I call the theory of everything. I've been looking deeply into my own life because I'm convinced that if I can't help me, then I can't help you. So I've become an increasing student of my own life, trying to learn more and more about why I do the things I do, how to change some of the things, how to increase performance in every area of life. So I get interested in this concept of failure when I find something in my life that's really stuck, where I'm not getting the result that I want to get. I've started to become very curious about that, and in recent months I've been on this quest for what I call the theory of everything. That comes from astrophysics and from quantum physics, where the hard sciences are trying to figure out a theory of everything that explains the cosmos. I like that metaphor because I believe that there's often things in our life that if we can solve them with some kind of internal theory of everything, a theory of why are we stuck, but why are we really stuck, right? Because often we go, well, I'm stuck because of the economy, or I'm stuck because my wife, boyfriend, girlfriend does things that I don't want them to do. We externalize it, right? But the real magic comes when we find the real reason, the theory of everything, the kind of deeper narrative about why we are not producing in the areas of life where we want to produce. So this brings us back to Jay Stringer's quote today: failure is loyalty to past scripts. So what are past scripts? Very simply, they're ways of reacting to life that come from systems or beliefs or patterns that we learned in the past. So I gave an example in the podcast version, and always remember there are longer podcast versions. You'll find the links under here. Let's just say you grew up with trauma. You grew up in an abusive household, just as an example. And let's just say you were threatened in that system, and you learned very quickly that if you just withdrew, if you went quiet, if you pulled back, you avoided more suffering. Now, right at that point in your life, that script, that pattern served a really helpful evolutionary, offering, right? A really helpful evolutionary benefit. Kept you alive, kept you safe. The problem is that we carry that script forward with us in life because it's such an intense script to learn young, right? We learn it young, it gets grooves into our neural pathways, and the result is that when later in life, when we get confronted with similar relational problems, conflict, drama, we can easily go back to that script. Now, that script might have been helpful 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, but it's probably not helpful now. So do you see how Jay Stringer's quote for us today, that failure is loyalty to past scripts, can be actually quite a helpful insight? That sometimes if we're stuck, it's because we're running a pattern that we've been running from a long time before. So in a minute, I want to talk about the strategy side of this, what we actually do. But I guess the obvious thing to say to you first is that we have got to get really good at looking at the areas in our life where we're not where we want to be, and then asking ourselves, what am I believing? What script am I running? Why am I here again? And I want to promise you, this is hard work. We live in a very distracted culture. The culture we inhabit wants you to be constantly distracted from what it is that you're doing. What it is that you're doing is facing the deeper things inside you that are going to lead you to greater freedom. All right, I want to give you a couple more insights from Jay Stringer now. We're going to wrap this up. Let's do a couple more. Another cool quote from the Jay Stringer book that stayed with me was says this: a symptom is a prophet that is trying to get your attention. What does he mean? In terms of these negative scripts, these failure patterns, you'll often find a symptom. You'll find something that's happening in your life that is not very pleasant, right? So it could be anger. It could be short-temperedness. It could be collapsing into depression. It could be an addictive pattern like drugs or alcohol or food or procrastination or something, right? Any number of negative maladaptive patterns. He would say that these are in fact symptoms, are actually prophets trying to get your attention. What does he mean? Think of the Old Testament in the Bible. You had these prophets, right? These men mostly, but sometimes women, would just emerge out of nowhere and they would confront the existing system, the existing society with a very unpleasant message. They would say, look, what you're doing is not working. It's destructive. It's going to ruin everything. You need to turn around and stop doing it and change. And usually the prophet then got killed, okay? Because prophets are never very popular. But think about this in your own life. Some of the symptoms that we have, what if the symptoms that you're experiencing are actually prophets trying to get your attention? And why would they want to get your attention? And here's the big insight, is that these patterns will continue until you realize they're trying to invite you into a different story. So recently I've been talking about the 3 big pillars: state, story, and strategy. But think about the negative symptoms in your life and the experiences of failure. They will repeat until you get conscious enough to realize that what you think is something in your life you want to get rid of, like say you're short-tempered, right? Like you're reacting to people all the time, or you're withdrawing from people, whatever. There's just no end to the possibility. Any negative behavior pattern in your life. What if that is an invitation into a different story? But as long as you keep running from it and ignoring it and burying it and resisting it and blaming others for it, you're not going to grow. So let's wrap up now by giving you the strategy side of what you can do next. You ready? Let's do this. First thing, as I've said, is consciousness. Start paying attention. Start looking into your life. Where is the failure? Is it in parenting? Is it in marriage? Is it in business? Is it in social interactions? Is it in health and fitness? Begin to look into your life and start exploring this theory of everything. When you look at the failure, go, what would explain this? What would explain this pattern that I've been in for however long? An example is when I gave up drinking, right? Like, I'm not telling you to give up drinking. I'm telling you that I used to drink for years professionally, right? I just had this thing. I was a master at it. It was really good. And then eventually I decided I need to give it away. And like anybody that, drank too much, it's not easy. And so many people struggle with this, right? But I began to ask myself some questions about a theory of everything. I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I really doing this? What is this giving me that, what else could be happening here? And the symptoms now, luckily I was never in a really bad way, but think of somebody who's a chronic alcoholic, right? All the symptoms. Broken relationship, hangovers, bad health, career problems, all of that stuff. Symptoms are prophets. So I began to look at my own life and go, what are the symptoms? What are they trying to tell me? And it takes you into a different story. That's the magic. So let me wrap all this up. Before I forget, the strategy side, number 1, consciousness. Number 2, move towards it. Move towards it. Most of the time when we're experiencing failure, we either blame or we avoid. We either blame someone else for it or another situation for it, or we run the other direction. So we want to get conscious, we want to get deliberate, we want to focus on it, we want to move towards it. We want to uncover the deeper meaning. What's it trying to tell you? What's it trying to tell you? What story is it trying to invite you into? So, anger, short-temperedness, impatience, things that really trigger us and you just get furious and it wrecks relationships. The symptom is a prophet trying to invite you to a different kind of life, a life of better relationships, of more calm, of more peace. Pick your example, friends. Anger's one, but there's any number of other ones. So this is a deep message for you today. I hope it's useful, but we stay in these patterns until we get conscious. And I want you to get conscious and start asking yourself, what is this trying to tell you? Because my gosh, on the other side of this, things get really interesting. You get freedom, you get breakthrough, you get significant change. I'm experiencing that very much in my own life at the moment, and I would love you to experience it too. So that's it. Please hit subscribe, share this with people, just chuck it on your social feeds. It makes a huge difference. And go and book a coaching call. Do it now. What are you thinking about it? The money you spend on coaching is the best investment you are going to make this year, because it's a small cost for a huge change, all right, that can really change everything. So go and hit that coaching link, book yourself a call. All right, God bless you, everybody. My name's Jonathan Doyle. This has been the Daily Message, and you and I are going to talk again tomorrow.